Hi, everybody, and welcome to the ADHD Eavesdrop, where you can be a butterfly on the wall and listen in on my conversations. Today, we have Sally Lotz with us, author, book coach, and fellow late diagnosed ADHDer. Sally's journey includes raising 3 boys with ADHD, discovering her own diagnosis in adulthood, and overcoming challenges that shape both her life and her writing. Sally, I am so happy to have you today.
I think I'm happy to be here. I don't know yet. I don't know what you're going to ask me.
You're going to be great. Don't
Okay.
worry about it. You are very happy you're here. You're amongst friends. Well, so tell us a little bit about yourself, Sally.
Well, I am a author, and I am a book coach. It took me a long time to get there. I also have ADHD, and I have a little bit of dyslexia to just throw into that mess. So, yeah.
Sounds like a lot of fun. So you write books and you help people write books. Is that
I
right?
do. I do. I write for children. So that can be anywhere from a baby up to a high school age, 18. That's considered children's books. But the people who I help write nonfiction. So
Okay.
went completely the other way. Yeah. There's
Interesting.
actually a reason for it.
Well, tell me, what's the reason?
Because when I help people write their books, especially when it's fiction, I get too involved in the story and I see it visually and I just, because I'm so creative and I see all these plot lines. So if I was helping somebody with their fiction, I would have a hard time staying out of their business, so to speak. So
Staying in your lane.
I'm good at the critiquing of fiction and helping someone do, like, if they have to do some professional query letters or something like that, I'm good at that. But for nonfiction, because it's pretty much straightforward, I'm better at helping someone dig deep and get their emotions and be transparent and be vulnerable because I know how to do that. Since I've hidden it my whole life, right? I know how to get them to open up and not be afraid to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you had mentioned you have ADHD, and I know that you were a later diagnosed ADHDer, as I
Yes.
was. Tell me a little bit about that process and then maybe how it relates to the work that you do now.
Well, I did not discover that I had ADHD until I had 3 little boys who exhibited different ADHD levels than I had or have. One of them just had ADD. But at the time, my ex-husband was very frustrated with them because he's very authoritative and very disciplined. And he was punishing them for things that I knew I was seeing. "Oh, I did that when I was a kid and I would get punished." And I go, he doesn't understand. And at this time, ADHD was coming out into the world, but it was like, "Oh, your kids don't have that. You just want to put them on drugs so you can control them." Well,
I
when one
love
of my
that
sons
attitude.
got punished for something that I knew that he had no control over, as hard as he tried, he was just heartbroken. I disobeyed, quote, my husband, and I took all 3 of them to I always get them mixed up, psychiatrist, the psychologist. The one that can
Psychiatrist
the one that
actually
the
does
one
the
that can
medication
prescribe,
stuff.
yes. All 3 of them, he took them back one by one, and they all took the tests. Actually, just my older 2 did because my younger one was too young. And then while they were taking the test, I took the test. And I went, I got like 15 out of 17."
This isn't a test you want to score high on, right?
No, so they want to score low. But, as I was going through this, it was kind of my kids are super, super smart, and they ended up all being in the gifted program because they recognize that ADHD is just I don't want to say it's a learning disability, but it's just you learn different. And so, but at my age, when I was in school, I was literally called stupid by my teachers, my mother. I was told by one teacher I was holding the whole class back. So that was not good for my self-esteem as a child either, because I was just like, I don't understand what you're telling me to do. I don't get this. And nobody had time to explain it to me. I had to learn it the way all the other kids did.
Mhm.
And so I did very well in some classes, the classes that I really loved, like art,
High interest.
Writing, silent reading, I did really great in. The math classes, I really struggled in. I did okay in like social studies because that was social things, right? But most every other class, I really struggled with. And I did not have help at home at all because on the other side of that, I grew up in a cult. And so education was not important.
So
Plus,
you
yeah, going to my mom and asking for help with homework, it was basically me getting yelled at. So I didn't ask anybody for help. I just said, I'm not
did you go to
doing it.
public school?
Hmm. Yeah.
Did they and so you said you went into gifted programming, right?
I didn't because they didn't have gifted programming.
Your kids were going
My
into
kids
gifted.
all did.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
so how old were you when you got diagnosed then?
I was about 30. Trying to think of how old my kids were. I was about 32 or 33.
So you lived a good part of your adulthood not knowing that you had ADHD. Now, we can't just skim over it because you said it, so we have to ask,
I did.
what the heck with the cult?
So it's a very well-known cult. It's the Jehovah's Witnesses, and that is what I grew up in. And it's actually one of my books that I wrote is it's a fictionalized story of my life growing up in that cult. And the reason I did that is because everybody tells me it's not a cult. And I was like, well, I lived it. I grew up in it.
You
What
know,
you
smells
see
like
what
it.
you see out here is not what's actually going on behind the scenes, it's like you don't know. But that environment was, not conducive to anybody learning, trying to get better, mental health. I mean, I had some serious, um, like, anxiety. I mean, it's all piled on, like, who wants to go to school? Right? I feel better at school because I'm not in that other environment, but then now at school, I'm stupid, right? And I can't really have friends with anybody because I can't have friends that aren't Joe's Witnesses. So it was just like an endless cycle. So my world then was books.
Yeah, I guess I can imagine how that would happen for sure. So then when you were 30 and you finally figured out that, oh my goodness, there's something here.
Yeah.
What what changed for you?
Well, I didn't do any drug therapy. I didn't do anything to help myself. All I said was, "This is why I do the things I do. This begins to make sense." And I may have adjusted a few things, but I never realized how much I was masking when I was working with other people. A lot of times I worked by myself, so it didn't really matter.
Mhm.
But so for years, I just worked it. I just dealt with it.
And how did that work
Yeah,
for you?
not so well because then you hit menopause, then you hit perimenopause and menopause and all that, and it's all different. It was completely different. I mean, I could not focus on anything, which usually I can hyper focus on something, but
Yeah,
and yeah.
it's a hard hitting time. That was about the time that I got my diagnosis too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the hormone imbalance and the hormone changes made it worse. So now for the first time in my life, I'm on Adderall. And I'm like, this is great.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
And my mother, she was 79 when she first went on her ADHD meds, and she was like, "Wow."
I know. I asked the doctor, like, how long is this going to take? Because in the past, I've taken anti-anxiety because I had a lot of like anxiety at different periods in my life. And she goes, oh, right away. I was like, okay, sign me up. I don't want to wait 2 weeks, 3 weeks for something to take effect. And yeah,
And when she says right away,
so
it's right away,
it
right?
was. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so, uh, raising you said only 2 of your boys got diagnosed. Do you suspect your 3rd one?
He got diagnosed later on when he was old enough. Yeah. Because I had him in the doctor's office and the doctor goes, well, that third one over there, he's definitely got ADHD. And I'm like, well,
You're like,
I
"Oops."
have 3 boys. It's kind of hard to tell all the time what's going on because they're always swarming and climbing and yeah. But it was the attention part of it, you could be talking to them and they're like this,
Hmm,
and they're paying attention.
right,
That's
yes.
me, looking out the window. I'm paying attention. But all 3 of them have outgrown it. They don't my oldest one exhibits a little bit, but the younger 2 don't necessarily exhibit how they did as a child.
And
So
ADHD kind of cycles throughout our lives too, and
Yeah.
sometimes it rears its head more than other times, and it might come up for them again later on, or it might not. I know there's also evidence of if interventions are done with kids at an early age, they learn coping and strategies earlier and better, and they learn how to do that process.
Mhm.
And so they may not have grown out of it as much as they just can cope
They've
and
learned
have
how to
good
cope.
strategies.
Yeah, they definitely got that in the gifted program. They had all the ADHD strategies. And, I did too because I went through it. So I taught them, when you come home, just put your shoes right here and put your bag right here, you know.
Mhm.
So my one older son, I should say, he's always losing stuff, good stuff, you know. But yeah, so and also when they were that age, I was very much into the nutrition side of it too.
Mm,
And
mhm,
so I was very careful, like, they never ate fast food. They never ate, like, stuff that had a lot of dyes and food coloring in it. I let them
mhm.
have it now and then, like, who's not gonna want a popsicle, right? I wasn't mean, but I just tried to stay away from all the processed stuff and all of the chemical stuff and even the toothpaste because it has that artificial sweetener in it.
Okay.
So it was silly, but the dentist got mad at me. He said, Your kids need to have fluoride in their toothpaste. And then he just like reamed me. I mean, like, he's like, This is awful. Your kids are going to have cavities. Da, 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 da." And then he took them back and looked at all their teeth. He goes, You know what? Your kids have the best teeth that I ever seen. I was like, Okay.
Genetically speaking, they really didn't eat all that. Yeah, no.
It's because they didn't drink soda. They didn't drink a lot of the sugary stuff. They didn't eat a lot of the garbage. So their bodies I them build good brain cells and all that.
So I'm curious how that's worked for them. Like, has that built for them?
Yeah, they still all eat.
Good stuff?
Yeah, I mean, they eat fast food too, but yeah, they eat really good. They're all
Good.
cooks. They cook their own food.
And how old are they now?
They're in their 30s. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I have a 30-year-old and a 28-year-old, so yeah,
yeah,
it's How does
yeah.
that happen, Sally?
Well, they do eat junk, but not so much. I mean, they're all really like trying to stay healthy and exercise. They're all musical and they're all artistic, but they're all also very scientific. So
Yeah. How do you feel like your ADHD, affects what you do with your writing?
I think it makes me a better writer. It's where I found my world. Well, like I was saying earlier, when somebody's telling me about their story and I just want to get in there and like, but what about this? What about that? Because I really envision it in my head. And I just feel like it gives me the creative thought process. And I'm not afraid to try different things and fail because it's been my whole life. Right. So I feel like it's really helped me just open up and just find different paths and different ways to say something. And if it's not any good, I'll just go, okay, we'll save this for another day. Yesterday, I was reading through some short stories I wrote a few years ago, and I was like, wow, this one's really good. Who wrote that?
I write that! Oh my gosh, look at that!
Why is it still sitting here on my computer? Why haven't I sent it out? But yeah. So I think it's helped me be a better writer.
And I hear that a lot with interviews, and there's a lot of people who would say, you have to be a little neurodivergent to be a creative, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know if it's that you have to be a little neurodivergent to be creative, or if you have to be creative. I don't know what comes first, but
I feel like if you're a little neurodivergent, it's much easier for you to be creative because of the way our brains work. I mean, I just see things in a different way than other people.
Mhm.
I see stuff all the time and my friends don't even notice it. And they're like, "Gosh, you're so weird." I'm like, "Thank you."
Right, but, and they're sitting there noticing all the normal things,
Yeah.
and you're like, Did you see that guy over there?"
They're like, "Where?" And I take pictures. I go, "Look at the couple over there. They're bird watching and they were dressed." I live in Florida. They were dressed head to toe in khaki with little masks, little netting over their faces. We're out on a trail. And they had big cameras, and I'm like, "Did you guys didn't see them?" They're like, "Who?" And I was like, those people we just passed. They're like, what are you
Exactly.
talking about? And I showed them my picture. I go, these two. And they started laughing. And I was like, how could you miss that? They had like pith helmets and, you know,
It's because we're seeing everything,
I'm
right?
seeing everything. So, but that's the kind of stuff that I put when I'm writing is I put those visuals in because I see it when I'm writing.
Mhm.
It's made up, but it's in my head. So,
Yeah, and I hear, I've interviewed a lot of authors, and I don't think any neurodiverse author I've ever interviewed has said, "Oh, no, my ADHD doesn't help at all." You know you
now
know? It's always like, "Yeah, it helps."
it helps with anything creative because I've also liked to paint. I'm not a good painter, but I have fun with watercolors. I was helping somebody write their book and she was very cut and dry. And this was something where she needed to be a little bit more, have some feelings. And she's just like, okay, I did the list and I'm like, okay. And then I had to go back and say, how did you feel? What happened here? What color? I make them go back to that time. If they were a child when this happened, let's say, I say, go back to when you were that age and tell me now that story from that point of view of a 5-year-old. I want to know what you saw, what you smelled. I want to know what your clothes felt like. I want to know, what your color your grandma's hair was, all that stuff, what you heard in the background. And they'll come back with this and they're like, wow, you just unlocked something. I go, well, sorry, that's my
That's my superpower.
welcome to my world. But yeah, it's because most people don't think that way.
Absolutely, and I think outside the box is kinda where we live a lot of the times.
Yes. What box?
What box? Is there a box? I missed the
There's no
box.
box.
So what was it like raising 3 boys with AD?
I had a lot of fun with them. Actually, I was talking to my daughter-in-law the other night, and we were talking about some of the things my kids did, that involved me having to call the fire department or the police,
Oh, no.
and they all knew me. Yeah. But once my youngest one said, "Remember when I got lost in the store?" And so he wasn't really lost, but I let him play underneath the clothing racks because I knew where he was, and then I would
Uh-huh.
just he was under there. But I always told him to sing a song. If you can't find me, like if you can't hear me, just do the Star Wars theme song and I'll find you. So that's what he was doing. I knew right where he was. I was on one rack over. So, I mean, I always, was able to kind of control them by using just their imagination or whatever was going on at the time. Same thing happened at I think they were at Kmart or something. And he kind of went around the row to go look at the toys. And I was close behind, but not close enough and got a little distracted. I don't know why. And I was like, oh no, where's Benjamin? Bad mom. So I started singing the Star Wars theme song, and then I heard him sing it back, and I was like, "Okay, he's right on the other row." So I came around the corner, and he was there. It's
That's
just,
awesome.
yeah. So it was just, we just did different things with him. We would, if we were in the car, we would tell stories or waiting anywhere, like at the doctor's office or at a restaurant. I would tell a story. It would be I do the first line, you do the second line, and we would just go around and around and around, and the story would get crazier and crazier. But it killed time and it kept them occupied, and they didn't have to have a screen, and they didn't have to have, any toys or anything. They were using their imaginations.
Well, and they were lucky enough to have a neurodivergent mom,
Yeah.
right? 'Cause I look at my sister, my poor sister, who is neurotypical, and, my mom and I have ADHD, and my dad was neurotypical too. But I think if she'd have been graced with, neurodivergent kids, she wouldn't get it. She just
Yeah.
doesn't get it.
Yeah. I could never have been a teacher because I'm like too much like what if I took them to the store and I like didn't have the stroller or something, like it was just a quick run, I was like, okay, you see those mannequins there? Those aren't really mannequins. Those are aliens and they're watching us. You could only step on the white squares, okay? And they
That's
would hold my hand and we would step on the white squares and I would get what I needed to get done, and then we get out of there.
yeah. Yeah,
There was no
absolutely.
crying, there was no screaming, there was no, oh, you guys are frustrating me,
Yeah.
It was a fun
Well, and
time.
boredom.
Yeah,
Like, from when I was a kid and we go into the store, when I would get bored, it was over.
yeah. Go underneath the rack. There's like little numbers that fall off the rack. You can collect all those and put them in your pocket.
Yeah, see, my mom wouldn't let me do that stuff, right? And so I think back, I'm thinking, if I'd have had a mom who did those
Yeah.
things, That would have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, so, I mean, what I did for my kids is just, you know, I just felt like I didn't wanna be annoyed or aggravated or be worn out and just, like, let's just make it as easy as possible. We can get in and out.
So when you look back on your childhood, because I know you said that there was some bullying that happened and some, things that were not very nice, and which is really common with kids with ADHD.
Mhm.
I don't remember. I heard a statistic about like kids with ADHD hear 7 times more negative comments
Oh,
in their
yeah.
than
Yeah.
normal. So when you got diagnosed with ADHD, did you look back and think, "Screw you all"?
I just kind of went like, "Oh, aha!" Because I can remember sitting in class just staring out the window. I was paying attention to the teacher, but I was like, there was a bird out there on the windowsill making a nest. It's like, that was much more interesting. Yeah, it just made sense to me that it took me a while to understand that I learn in a different way and I ingest it and digest it in a different way. I just had an aha moment. I was mad at the teacher back then and my mom when they told me that because I said, I'm not dumb. But then I was like, okay, why am I failing? Maybe I am. It was frustrating as a child.
Well, yeah, because there is that feeling of I must be stupid because I can't do it the same way as everybody else can do it,
Yeah.
and always feeling like an outsider. I don't know about you, but I always felt
Oh,
like
yeah, for sure.
I
Yeah.
didn't belong,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even though I had friends, you
Yeah.
know, people around me.
Well, I didn't get to have the friends, remember?
Right, exactly.
My friends were the only ones that, were in the cult with us, and there was only 1 or 2 kids my age. The rest were either way older or they were way younger. So, if I didn't like this person, then I had no friends. Just because they're my age doesn't mean I'm
Right.
gonna like them, They could be super weird.
Yeah, right. They might have ADHD or something.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so I was already an outsider. And I truly have, one of the biggest issues that I have with ADHD is I have that rejection dysmorphia big time.
Mhm.
And, it does go back a lot to, all those childhood experiences of continual rejection. And so, of course, I pick a career that's continual rejection. But that was more a rejection of me, being always being picked last for the team, always sitting by myself for lunch, never really having a friend. And then even older, rejected from, boyfriends or I feel rejected from my family because of that cult, most of them are still in it. And my family's so broken. A lot of my siblings, I'm just kind of like in the middle there. And actually, one of my brothers who just passed away, there's 7 of us. He told me, like, before he passed away, he goes, I never realized how really alone you are. Because you're really alone. I go, yeah.
Yeah.
I go, yeah, I've been telling you that, guy, since I was 3. And you wouldn't let me come and play with you. You'd push me back in the house or um,
Yeah,
yeah,
because I think about, a neurotypical child in that situation would struggle enough,
yeah,
right? But then
yes,
you throw in that ADHD and the RSD, which
yeah,
is debilitating or can be
yeah.
debilitating. Um, yeah, that's
And then I have the cult family, abusive family on top of that. So it was like, you know, it
right.
kind of all morphed together, and that's kind of why I didn't really realize anything until I was older.
So how did you leave that?
I was kicked out of the house at age 17 because I didn't want to believe in their Jehovah anymore, and my mom said I was a bad influence on my little sisters, so I was asked to leave home.
So,
Does that sound like a cult to you?
well, I mean, it
Mm.
definitely sounds suspect.
Yeah, yeah.
So then what did you do?
I was fortunate enough to have a dad who was not a Jehovah's Witness. However, I never lived with him. I really spent very little time with him because he was in the Navy and he was always, he was stationed in Guam for like 6 years. And the Jehovah's Witness They don't really want you to associate with people who don't believe in Jehovah the way they do, family members included. So they tend to cut you off. So I didn't try to cut my dad off, as my mom did that for me. So I did spend time with him, but just not like every other weekend, not like, not like the
Mhm.
entire summer. It would be 2 weeks here and there, hit or miss. Like I said, for 3 years, I didn't see him at all. So I was able to go live with him in San Diego. It took a little while, but then I was just plopped down into this world of this is so different. No siblings, because I was his only child. No other kids in the house. Nobody calling me stupid. I had to make all my own choices, which I'd never done before. So as a person with ADHD, that can be hard. It
Absolutely,
was
it
very
can.
hard. It was almost a little bit crippling at times. I would just not say anything. I would just keep it to myself, or I would just, wait till I had to make a choice, and then I would just do whatever was easiest.
Well, look
So
how far you've come.
I know. But that just like that's a whole different life.
Well, Sally, I have really enjoyed this conversation, and I really appreciate you sharing your personal story with me and opening up with that. But I really want to tell you that I really do appreciate your time, your stories, and everything that you've given us today.
Thank you. I hope I could help somebody. I don't know.
I think so. I think so. I think, I hear from people, I feel less alone is often,
Mhm.
what I hear,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's always
I've said
it's
that
always
too.
helpful. So thank you again, Sally. I appreciate it. And for those butterflies on the wall who've been listening in, we hope that they'll subscribe and like and do all the good things. And we'll see you next time.